Good afternoon from BBC London, I'm Paul Murphy-Kasp. She was dismissed by 3 doctors and it took 5 months to diagnose, but the mole on Sarah Lee's scalp was confirmation she had skin cancer. The BBC journalist was diagnosed with stage 3 malignant melanoma in January and has been undergoing treatment since. One of the major causes is a high UV index. Experts recommend taking precautions for anything over level 3. But according to the Met Office, over the next few days, levels could go up to 7. Well, Sarah joins me now. And Sarah, you say that you went to 3 doctors first, none of whom took you seriously. What happened next?
So I kept on pushing until a doctor finally agreed to do a biopsy of my mole, which came back as melanoma. I had a series of operations and surgeries to remove all the cancer cells from my scalp. I also had to have a radical neck dissection, which was quite a big surgery to remove all of the lymph nodes from my neck. One of the lymph nodes did come back for melanoma, and so I have to undergo a 12-month treatment plan now of quite harsh medication with very strong side effects, including nausea, fatigue, vomiting, and rashes.
How did it feel once you had your diagnosis, knowing that your instinct was right all along?
Quite frustrated. I was quite frustrated, really, because I knew in myself that there's something wasn't right with this mole, and it took so long to get that diagnosis. But also quite sad and shocked that I was diagnosed with cancer at an age of 29. And you know, my journey doesn't end there. I've had numerous surgeries, but I'll always be anxious for the sun now.
What would you say to someone watching this who might be unsure of a mole or a growth on their skin, but they're too afraid to go to a doctor?
If they notice any changes in their skin at all, I would urge them to go and see their GP. If they have any moles that begin to evolve, if they go crusty, if they bleed, if they grow bigger, go to your GP. And if they do not take you seriously, seek a second, third, fourth opinion, because if it is melanoma, it can spread to your vital organs very quickly, and it's very hard to treat once it gets to that point.
Some very sage advice there that could one day save a life. Sarah, thank you very much. And you can, of course, read more on Sarah's story and information on how to spot the symptoms of melanoma skin cancer on the BBC London website. Well, with extensive parts of England now officially in a drought, this prolonged period of dry weather means London's parks are suffering from the lack of rain. And with an extreme heat warning in place until Sunday night, London's park managers are changing how they water plants and warning people against having barbecues and even lighting cigarettes in such a dry environment. Frankie McCamley has spent the morning in Hyde Park.
For anyone who's walked through one of London's parks or past a big patch of grass that's been open to the sunlight will have noticed it looks a little bit like this. It looks like something you'd expect to see when you're on holiday in Spain. So what does it mean for London's parks when we're losing all of this greenery? Well, to tell me a little bit more, and joining me now is Jason Taylor, who's head of Hyde Park. Jason, how much is this park struggling?
As you can see, looking around, it is very stressed. It's incredibly dry. We haven't had any proper rain for weeks. So yes, it is struggling. You can see the trees are stressed and the ground is very dry.
And barbecues, they've been a bit of an issue. Are you seeing an issue here in the park?
We don't allow barbecues in any of the Royal Parks. That's one of our park regulations, but we do normally get a few. I'm pleased to say that we haven't seen any in the park for the last 2 or 3 weeks, which is good. I'm hoping that people are getting the message of just how dry the park is and how risky that is to light any fires in the park.
And finally, there's a hosepipe ban coming our way. Is that going to affect you?
There is a hosepipe ban. We're very lucky that our water comes out of a borehole. We use groundwater, we pump it up, and then we distribute that around the park. We're still being incredibly careful with water, as we always would be. We're not watering any grass. We're literally watering things that are going to stop them dying.
Jason Taylor there talking to Frankie McCamley. Now, the London Overground won't run tomorrow due to strike action. The ASLEF union members are striking in a dispute over pay and the cost of living. It also means that in addition to the Overground, many of London's train operators will run a very limited service or no service at all. With the rise in the cost of living in the capital, many Londoners say they're struggling financially. New figures out today from City Hall suggest 1 in 5 of lower-income Londoners have regularly or occasionally gone without food or essential items or relied on outside support in the past 6 months. Nearly a third say they're just about managing. Electric bikes will be added to TfL's fleet of hire bikes from next month, with around 500 becoming available. They'll cost more than traditional bikes, which will also see their hire prices rise for the first time in almost a decade. Now, it's been a while since London felt any kind of rainfall, and many of our green spaces are looking a little worse for wear. But one garden in Essex is in full flourish. That's because it's a dry garden full of drought-tolerant plants that thrive with low rainfall. Nikki Ford has been to take a look.
Soaring temperatures and drought conditions, well, that's just how this garden likes it.
We're in the driest region of the country, and so actually this was first started by one of my predecessors back in 2001. Principle being that what you do is you plant the plant, you might water it maybe a couple of times at first, get it established, and then we haven't watered this since. So for some plants they have been watered for over 20 years.
So what sort of plants do you get, Rob, in a dry garden?
The majority of the plants that we actually find within the dry garden environment are plants from South Africa, Australia, Mediterranean plants, and even California. We've got this beautiful yellow flowering Californian poppy here. Perhaps you're wanting something more solid, perhaps in the garden environment. Well, palms do it very well for you, and there's quite a number of palms that you can actually choose. This particular one is called Chamaerops. And then also what we've got here is grasses, and what I love about the grasses is you've got these beautiful textures to them, and it just works so well as a combo within the garden.
So will we need to adapt our gardens in the future?
Climate change, yes, of course we've got this extreme heat and all of that, but we've got also very strong winds that are now coming through, and we also have a lot of experience with flash flooding and stuff like that. So it's mechanisms and ways in which we can garden in the future that actually helps with I suppose us adapting to the climate and where the climate is heading.
Nikki Ford, BBC London.
Now, just before the weather, if you thought you were warm during this heat wave, imagine what it's like if you're covered in fur. This troop of Bolivian black-capped squirrel monkeys at London Zoo have been enjoying frozen ice lollies to try and cool down. And I think I might join them. Well, another hot and sunny day across London, but what's in store for the weekend? Here's Katerina.
Hello there, good afternoon to you. Well, another very hot and sunny afternoon, hardly a cloud in the sky out there at the moment, and an amber weather warning is still in force. That's for extreme heat, that's valid right through until Sunday. So high pressure continues to dominate our weather over the next few days. It's Sunday, we'll start to see an area of low work its way in from the south. So Monday and Tuesday, there is a chance of a few showers, some of which could fall on the heavy and thundery side. But this afternoon, it stays dry, it stays very hot and sunny, highs of 34 degrees. You can see on the outskirts they're just slightly cooler where you've got that exposure to the easterly breeze. Then through this evening and overnight it stays quiet with lengthy clear spells. Warmest temperatures tonight across central London at 18 degrees in a gentle breeze. There's a very similar story through tomorrow. Lengthy spells of sunshine, perhaps a bit more cloud through the afternoon, and even hotter tomorrow. Could be seeing highs of around 36 degrees. So staying very hot on Sunday, and temperatures will start to cool through next week.
So still plenty of hot weather to come. That's just about it from me, but there's plenty more on our website, including Tom Edwards explaining where London gets its water from, and also how we can safeguard supplies for the drier summers of the future. Well, Victoria's here at 6:30, but from all of us here on the Lunchtime team, whatever you're doing, enjoying the rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye.